Hello, the internet. Is this the most fun you can have for $15 in the IC world? I think it is. If you can find a better deal, buy me one. Now, I'm a big fan of value in design. For $500, for example, you know you're going to get something that can do a lot because you're spending a lot. That's not super impressive to me. If you're designing a $500 product, you can afford to put a lot of effort into your engineering, design, and build. But what's more impressive to me is when you can cram a lot of fun and ability into something at a super low price point. Today's review takes that concept to the extreme. For $15, you'd expect a piece of junk, not something that you can actually have fun with. $15 is not an investment, $15 is an accident. I've spent more than that on disappointing lunches. I've spent more than $15 on a set of tires for a 24th scale crawler. I spent more than $15 on an apology bouquet of flowers. It's really not a big expenditure in money. So let's look at what you get for $15. On a spec sheet, it's not super impressive. There is rear suspension only. The motor is on the swing arm, old school design. Front suspension is sort of simulated just by having these flexible A-arms. The steering isn't proportional. And the controller, quite frankly, looks like something you'd get as a prize in a kid's meal. But when you hit the throttle on this thing, it scoots. There are 2 speed settings on the controller for high and low. I took it out, unboxed it, played around with it, thought, yeah, this is a decent speed. Let's see how it works in the low speed setting and see if it's still any fun. Turns out it was in the low speed setting and the thing went even faster. It's kind of ludicrous that you can get this much out of a cheap $15 Banggood toy. This thing is significantly faster accelerating than the MT28 Team Associated that I tested a couple weeks ago. And Team Associated, if you're watching, this is where you should feel very, very ashamed for charging $60 for this thing. I'm going to throw it again. It's clear that every cent of the $15 you spent on this thing went into making it as much fun as possible. For example, most companies spend a lot on marketing and branding. They want to make sure that you associate the fun that you're having with this toy with their name and come back to them for other purchases. People give their products easy to remember names, like the SCX-10. That's a bad example. Like the X-Max, like the Big Rock, like the Armada. As far as I can tell, this $15 Banggood Buggy was named by the accounting intern. How else do you come up with a name like, I'm gonna have to read it off my phone because there's no way I could memorize this. The Banggood 132nd 2.4G Racing Multi-Layer in Parallel Operate USB Charging Edition Formula RC Car Indoor Toys Red. And you did hear me right, I said multi-layer. I did take the body off, and it appears that it is made of a single layer of Lexan, so I'm assuming what they meant there was multiplayer. I'm only vaguely aware of the company that made it. Uruavuf. And the picture on the box doesn't look a darn thing like the Buggy either, so they certainly saved on building their packaging. In fact, their packaging looks a little bit like another car that is probably worth about $15. The manual is even clearly describing a different car than what's in the box, but hey, they cut corners on the things that don't actually impact how much fun you have and put the effort where it counts. This thing is really nicely balanced for an indoor carpet foam tire buggy. It's got enough power and acceleration to break the tires loose. At full speed on carpet, you can turn it full lock and it doesn't traction roll, something that always super annoys me. And even though the steering is non-proportional, the throttle has very good control, and you can actually do a decent amount of control with that. If you're going at a medium speed, you can give it a burst of throttle to bring the back end around. If you're going at high speed, you can let off, transfer the weight to the front, bring the back around. It's not super controllable. You're probably not going to be taking this out to a 1/32nd scale race course and expect to do terribly well. But that's not what this thing was made for. This thing was made to bounce off of your kitchen chair legs, and it's going to do that all day long and make you giggle. Now with the foam tires, it is a little hard to control on a hard surface. If you've got hardwood floors or tile, it might be a bit of a handful. You'll probably want to keep it in the low speed setting. But again, it works really great on carpet. Also, without the suspension, it's not going to be great on outdoor surfaces, but it's a 1/32nd scale. You're going to have the most fun with that inside. But more than any particular spec or ability, these cars just have a lot of charm. Everybody I hand one to spends a few minutes playing with it, asks how much it is, and then goes and gets one themselves. I sent a couple of them to an office with some kids to keep them occupied at a bring your kid to work day, and they had a blast, and the office manager asked to get one. I showed one to my teenage daughter, who's getting ready to go away to college. She went ahead and got one to play with in her dorm room. It's just a super accessible car, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's super inexpensive, and there's no reason not to get one. Now, I'm certainly not trying to say that these break the laws of physics or economics. These are cheap toys. I'm kind of surprised they've lasted as long as they have. I got 2 of these in December. I've been using them off and on pretty frequently, and they've held up. The wheels do wobble a little bit. The foam is not cut super precisely. Every now and then I have to trim the hair off of the rear axles. That's what happens when you live with somebody with long hair. But in general, they've held up and have been super impressive. So there you have it. If you want to get something to give the kids to distract them while you play around with your really expensive car, you can't do much worse than this. If you want to get something to bring to the office, race around the cubicles, perfect job for this. And again, for the value, you really just can't beat it. I love a good deal. I love a lot of fun for a little money, and this car certainly brings it. So I highly recommend it. Thanks everybody for watching.